On the latest chapter of the One Punch Man fan manga made by C. Eminglap, we saw Saitama erupt through Earth. He was hit down all the way near the core. This fourth dimensional god being had pretty much Thanos snapped everybody on Earth except for Saitama and his crew. Saitama rises up through the ground and slams down the god with a punch so strong that it shakes the entire Earth. Then throws him up into the sky, slamming into another planet. But it doesn't end here. The god being has survived, and now he is creating a new set of armor, presumably to be resistant to even Saitama's punches. We're going to get into that. It seems really interesting, and I'm really excited to review these. That's coming up right after this. I've partnered with Yuzu to present you Saint Seiya Awakening Knights of the Zodiac. Guys, this game is so fun. It is legit amazing. It's a brand new, gorgeous, turn-based RPG game officially licensed by Masami Kurumada, which 100% restores the classic story. This game is actually unbelievably good. I was seriously surprised at how much the turn-based combat reminded me of a Final Fantasy game. If you don't know Saint Seiya, you're missing out. It's one of the OG shonen anime that inspired many other shows like Gundam and Ronin Warriors, and Netflix recently released a brand new Saint Seiya series. The game has famous voice actors like Yuki Kaji, the voice actor of Eren in Attack on Titan. Characters and skills are based on the original anime, and if you've watched Saint Seiya, this game is going to be a serious treat for you. They even highly restored the original music and sound of the anime, and the game includes player versus player combat. It's a completely free game and extremely fun, so what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description or pinned as top comment. Go download Saint Seiya Awakening Knights of the Zodiac and start having some fun today. So the previous chapters were all motion manga edited by Dark Zesperia. These last two are done by Maximus Locke. He has a YouTube channel. I'll link that in the description. At this point, the god extracts a myriad of rare air elements, and he is on another planet. I'm not sure which planet it is, if it's Mars or Venus or what exactly, maybe even the moon. It looked like he flew past the moon. But he's deconstructing and reconstructing, creating a new set of armor more resistant than any known element, because he knows how strong Saitama is. In a couple pages, it'll show he can't even believe how like a third dimensional being could be this strong. And he's using his power to scan to find out exactly where Saitama is in the universe. I mean, this guy must have flown really far. Doesn't he know he's on Earth? But the reason he's doing this is because he has some ability that he's going to use on Saitama. But before he uses that ability, he has a fit of rage here, throwing a punch that just creates this absolutely massive destruction. I had the pleasure of seeing C. Eminglap actually create this image right there on Twitter and seeing some of the process. This dude puts just such an unbelievable amount of detail and love into every single picture he creates. So the god here, he's saying, how can a three-dimensional creature be this strong? Damn it, he's visibly frustrated, a being that has really never faced a challenge, although he has said previously that there are 5th, 6th, and 7th dimensional beings which you can't even comprehend the amount of power that they have. And this guy pretty much can manipulate matter. I absolutely love the attention to detail on this god. I mean, look at all those little scales. Do you know that you have to hand draw each one of those tiny little scales for every picture, how long that takes? Unbelievable artwork. Saitama notices something at his feet, and it's actually the dimensional stone that was passed down to Cheetah Girl, if you remember from the first couple chapters, but she's knocked out right now. That's the stone that she used to get to Earth, and also that she tried to use to send the god being to some abyss, but it didn't really work. Saitama's asking where's Genos, but he's all broken up into pieces, and after Saitama's last punch, all the pieces of Genos were blown away and scattered, so he's pretty much MIA. Everybody's pretty much dead at this point. Saitama takes the dimensional stone and he puts it in his pocket. We don't really see it anymore for the rest of the chapters, but I think that he's going to put it to use later on. He's saying that he threw the god out into space. Maybe that was a little bit careless. And then he says, this feeling. So right now what the god being is doing is he's using some of his dimensional magic, whatever you want to call it, an ability of his that he can literally find someone. Remember, he was trying to find out the exact location of Saitama, kind of like how Goku searches ki for his instantaneous movement. This god being is looking for the energy of Saitama, and when he finds him, he uses this ability to literally transfer him through space-time to the exact point that the god is. And right here you see the ground shaking, everything's rumbling. You see some particles from space. And then there's a crater where Saitama was, and he literally, it looks like in the blink of an eye, there was an explosion of light. He's like literally rocketing to the exact point where God is. He's being pulled in by the god's power. And the god right here is clenching his fist after using this ability, which they go into explain. According to the law of conservation of energy, the form of energy is convertible, but the quantity is constant. In other words, we can't create energy, and by the way, take a look at this background art. He was practicing drawing fourth dimensional drawings on Twitter. So if you take a look at that art, you can see it's kind of like, if you know who MC Escher is, he's an artist that I studied growing up. It's kind of a paradox of different directions. It's almost an optical illusion to your eye. Creatures of higher dimensions can create energy for teleportation. They can form a transport tunnel of space-time through two planets. So he's literally teleporting Saitama right directly to him. Again, I don't know what planet this is. It doesn't look familiar, but whatever the case is, Saitama can't breathe in space. So he's gonna have to end this fight quickly as he's rocketing towards this god on some unknown planet if there's no oxygen there. You remember what happened in Saitama's fight versus Boros. He was on the moon, he's holding his nose. He obviously cannot breathe in space. Whatever the case, Saitama lands on this new planet, and the god, clad in his new super armor that he has created, jumps and throws a mighty punch down at Saitama with overwhelming force, and Saitama clenches his fist and throws one right back. Killer move, serious series. Love this artwork in this shot. Just beautiful perspective. You can feel the power of these two titans about to clash, and Saitama uses a new move, serious uppercut, slamming his fist into the gods, and it creates just an unbelievable amount of destruction that blows everything away. This shot looks like it's blowing up half the planet. That's a great shot. There's so much detail. You don't really know what happens here, and it actually kind of fades out, and we don't know the conclusion to that fight yet. So what we're going to do is go back to Genos. He's in pieces. He's on Earth after the battle. He's one of the only remaining survivors on Earth, and Genos notices something in the distance coming towards him. And that's actually the end of chapter 4, but there is a 5th chapter, which we're going to talk about, but it's very, very short. Let's get into that. Genos sees this massive robot, almost looks like a Gundam. I love the detail on this picture. I love how he uses the combination of darks and lights and the contrast to show the glistening armor coming off of this giant Gundam-like robot that's standing over Genos. And the chest to this robot begins to open up, blows all the smoke away, and we see that it's actually Genos's father, I guess you could say, Dr. Kuseno, the guy who pretty much made Genos. He has somehow survived in this giant robot, and he finds Genos laying out there in the ground. And he's pretty much apologizing for Genos' new armor, which, if you remember the first couple chapters, Genos got a major upgrade in this fan manga, but he's apologizing for it being destroyed. And Genos is like, it's no problem, I'm still alive and my nucleus is intact, but what happened on Earth? I'm worried about it. Dr. Kuseno says Earth received many strong vibrations, so I used my new developed machine to analyze it, and after that I cannot find any human signals. How is that possible? Well, that's because the god used what he called judgment and Thanos snaps. We saw all of the S-rank heroes literally just turn into dust, literally exactly like Thanos. At first I thought it was a computer error, but after seeing repeated verifications, the result was obviously real. Every person and all animals are gone. You seem to have survived because you're a cyborg. But interestingly, Cheetah Girl and Garo and Saitama did not turn into dust. They were not snapped away. So I wonder why they were not affected. Maybe it was because of the dimensional stone. Maybe he'll explain that later on. Dr. Kuseno survived, he says, because he was underground surrounded by radiation to make his machines. I think I can make something big with the large Hadron Collider made by humans. And Genos is saying there is nothing wrong that you can't undo. And just take a look at the art between all of these characters. I mean, as I explained in the very first chapter, like, C. Eminglap has grown so much as an artist throughout this entire series. Some of these pictures of Dr. Kaseno, it looks like Yusuke Murata. In fact, the whole chapter 4 and 5 was just unbelievable artwork. The amount of detail that goes into each picture just continues to grow. The likeliness to the actual models continues to be so on point. And that's unfortunately the end of all we have so far. The only thing I can show you is one image that C. Eminglap posted on Twitter, but there's no part 6 yet. There's no chapter or volume 6 yet. But these things take time, guys. I mean, look at the amount of detail he puts into every single picture. It's no one, this isn't his full-time job. He doesn't get paid to do this. So you got to give him time. Let the master create his masterpiece. Once we get the next chapter, I'll let you know. But until then, make sure that you go and play Saint Seiya Awakening Knights of the Zodiac. It's completely free. There's a link in the description. It's brand new. It's super fun, especially if you've watched Saint Seiya before. But even if you haven't, it'll still be really entertaining and occupy you for a while. The music is just completely dope. It's got all these great voice actors that you've probably heard before from other famous anime. And the combat is smooth and it's very easy to learn. Go download Saint Seiya Awakening Knights of the Zodiac today.